Oh, good evening, GamerGate. Welcome. This is the Liberals of GamerGate, having a little chat and a critique about all the events involving GamerGate from a left perspective. And we have kind of something that just happened literally moments ago. There was a major doxing, and let me just get up my little image here. So it was Aaron, I can't pronounce his last name, literally whose ex got doxxed, his parents, that is. Boogie got doxxed, Jontron got doxxed, Adam Baldwin got doxxed, Milo got doxxed, and Shoe on Head got doxxed. So, the cyber war front of GamerGate has gotten even hotter. I see Ace has joined us. So I just wanted to open with that real quick, but I think we should, just go around, give a brief introduction. I'm Eags Eagle. I've had a Twitter account since 2010, and before GamerGate, I had maybe 10 tweets. I'm a PC gamer. I'm a member of the PC Gaming Master Race, and I am a liberal. I am a left-winger. I voted for Obama twice. I donated some cash to the campaign the second time around, and I actually canvassed a little for Kerry during the very lean Bush years. So that's the quick info drop on me. Tanner, you want to give a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. I'm Tanner Flores. My Twitter handle is AH_TanFlow. I've been a member, I don't know, for about a year on Twitter. I play Xbox, I play PlayStation, and I'm dabbling with PC right now. And it's been pretty crazy with all this scandals and all this. I can't, there's nothing else I can say.
That's quite all right. Ricky, you want to give a quick intro there?
Okie dokie then. Can anyone hear me?
We hear you loud and clear.
Good then. Alright, my name is Ricky. Just Ricky. Ricky Davis. My Twitter handle is @RickyG from Ricky G of SJST. I am a self-proclaimed liberal, and I'm also a retro gamer as well. I have played virtually any console in the 90s, thanks to my late grandmother's assistance. I have played NES games. I have played Genesis. I have flirted a little bit with the N64 back in the early 2000s. But some of my favorites are RPGs, simulations, and anything that makes me feel good or want to stay in the focus,
All right. I guess Ace, you want to give a quick intro there?
Yeah, sure. My name is my Twitter handle is Agent Ace with an underscore at the end. I've been gaming pretty much my whole life, ever since the Genesis, Super Nintendo days. I mostly grew up on Sega consoles, but now currently I just play any console, and I actually started PC gaming in recent years. So I've been broadening my horizons on that front, and I guess you could say I'm a liberal, more of a social liberal. When it comes to like economic politics, I really don't have too much of an opinion there. I want to read more about economics to have a better position on that. But socially, I'm pretty liberal, but not as liberal as the people that are against GamerGate.
Yeah, that is. I feel like that's a very special case of liberalism. In particular, here, let me. Am I giving a little echo here?
Yeah, I hear an echo too.
I'm hearing it from Ricky.
Hello?
Yeah, we're getting a little echo.
I'm sorry.
How
Sorry.
about now?
It's cool.
Okay, very good. So, yeah, first of all, I'd really like to make a distinction between, like, liberal and social justice warrior and feminist even.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the hardcore anti-GamerGate people, when we're talking about, like whoever did this doxing that, I listed at the top of the broadcast, I mean, that's so far left that at that point, psychologically, there's no difference between that and, like, a Marxist, let's say.
But it's just
Or,
borderline scary, to say the least.
yeah, no, and, it all, I think, comes from sort of this kind of utopian vision. These people who share that view, the social justice warrior view, and again, I'm talking about specifically like the kind of loud voices that we're fighting against right now. They've got kind of a they've got the key to perfecting the human being, right? They're going to make it all perfect and utopian, and because their vision is so perfect, and you can justify anything. Essentially it becomes, might equals right. Like, well, we can bully and whatever, and it's okay for us to, break all these rules and cut all these corners, because at the end of the day, we've got this utopian vision, and, all ethics are nothing compared to the utopian vision. That's kind of how I, sitting on the left, see this. Like, I see no thematic difference between, like, the social justice warriors that we're up against and either a fascist or a communist. It's a similar mindset. Now they're not the same by any stretch. These people aren't Nazis and they're not communists, really. I mean, but it's the underlying philosophy. This justification mechanism they have that
Kind of like
makes them so troubling.
1984 on steroids. You know what I'm saying?
Say again?
It's kind of like 1984 on performance-enhancing drugs. I've made that observation.
Well, I think maybe more on Adderall than anything else, or probably some new elevators, right? So, but yeah, no, there is a 1984 element, because they definitely, and this again, I'm going to speak to a little philosophy right now. This flavor of social justice warrior, which is really a combination of, like, feminists and a couple other things, the underlying epistemology, the way they claim to know what they know, is based on postmodernism, and that's a really deep and kind of confusing rabbit hole to go down, but I strongly suggest that everybody just, when you have some time, go ahead and Wikipedia that. That page has not been violated yet by the social justice warrior, Wikipedia fighting force or whatever they got there.
Yeah, don't give them any freaking ideas.
Exactly. What was that guy's name? Anyone remember that guy's name? You've been seeing those float around, right? Anyone?
What's that?
The guy who there's someone on Wikipedia who's been fighting the edit war for the GamerGate article.
I think it was titanium something like.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Dragon?
Exactly right. Yeah. So I mean, at any rate, to make a long story short, the underlying philosophy is kind of built on the foundation of postmodernism. That's really where they're coming from, and the main kind of thrust of that, from what I understand, is basically like the subjective is objective, which is to say, if I see it that way, that makes it real. Therefore, my perception is the reality, and you have to acknowledge that, essentially. And the way they kind of regulate that vis-a-vis one person versus another is based on those privilege points, basically. Like, well, if you're more oppressed, then your subjective desires are greater than the less oppressed. And of course, that oppression scale is in itself just a form of bigotry and stereotyping, because it assumes, well, if I happen to have these random racial or gender features, then therefore that automatically entitles me to X, which to me is explicitly totalitarian and explicitly, racist. Not certainly in the way that they use that term. They use it in a sociological context as opposed to, a common speak context. So, that's kind of what I see from a thematic side. I'd be interested to see, like, how do you guys, as gentlemen of the left, see, like, how do you interface with this GamerGate experience? Like, based on the behavior we're seeing and, the activity of the opposition, while taking into account their arguments, like, what do you see? How are you interpreting this from kind of that same kind of political lens that I just kind of described? How about Ace? You want to start us off?
Sorry.
No, that's all right. I mean,
I got cut off here because I'm in a GamerGate thread right now, and the reason why is supposedly there's a paste bin going around that's basically doxing all the big names on the GamerGate side.
No, you actually, because you missed the top of the broadcast. Yeah, we announced that off the go.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's cool. It's Adam Baldwin, Milo, Shoe on Head. Who else?
JonTron.
JonTron. That's a weird one too, because he's been pretty quiet after the initial correct? I mean, I don't.
I think they just don't like him because the way he's staunchly against he's staunchly for, I guess you could say, GamerGate, not really like sitting the fence like, let's say, Boogie.
Yeah, refusing to drink the Kool-Aid, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. So, I mean, and I feel bad for Boogie, because he really does try and ride that line. He's really trying to be as fair as he can, but
it's kind of like being in the middle of the road. Doesn't even care to these people.
Oh yeah, well, there's no distinction from them, and that goes back to them being sort of like totalitarian in that sense. You're either 100% on board with the program, or you're not on board at all. And that's
you're either for us or you're against us. If you're against us, we will beat you into submission. I think that's what they're trying to do here.
Well, I mean, it's not. I don't think that they're not all doxers, and also there's another thing to consider. I mean, how young are the really stringent anti-GamerGate Twitterers? I'm not seeing. There's a handful of the. You've got the game journalists and the devs and stuff, but then after that, I mean,
probably some folks in early 30s.
See, I think we're talking about a way younger population, because you have to keep into consideration. I mean, how much the average age on Tumblr is like pretty young, man, and that's where a lot of these kids come out of. Now, there's a whole college age like cohort there too.
Yeah.
And certainly there are the academics and the game developers and stuff. I was talking about more of just a strictly online presence, in terms of people doxing and stuff. Because more often than not, this doxing is not really. It's not like people are getting hacked. I'm an IT pro, and I've been in the industry for about 15 years, and I'm not a security expert by any stretch of the imagination, but, I mean, people leave giant online footprints all over the place.
Oh yeah.
If you're not careful, it's very easy to come across that information. You have to set up firewalls in the sense of, you have to create like an online persona and separate it from parts of your life because, that's a potential avenue of attack.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
I don't think we're necessarily up against, at least on the Twitter level of the fight, let's say. I don't think we're up against, like.
I think you're right. Not all of them are engaging in this kind of crappy behavior, but I think there's a great deal of folks who sort of buy into this whole argument because of the misogynies and stuff like that.
Well, yeah. What it is. Now, I want to make a couple of things clear. Like, it's clear to me that there are unique challenges in a person's life having to do with their race, sex, or sexual orientation, gender, whatever. Like,
yeah, that I also take into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, there's
no
doubt that's going on.
Listen, I'm no psychology major, but I think there's a lot of things. But I've been around a psychologist long enough to know that there are plenty factors in the real world that can really fuck a person's brain up.
Well, yeah, that too. But I'm not even talking from that perspective. I mean, what I'm saying is, like, if you're born with a disability, or even beyond that, just like your race. I mean, if you're black, the challenges in your life are going to be different from that of a white person. Now, that doesn't mean.
So that's a known fact.
Right,
That's a known fact.
And I'm saying, and furthermore, like, if you're a black woman, well, then there's a whole set of special challenges that come there. If you're Asian, there are special challenges that come there. If you're white, there are challenges that come there. And, you want to, I feel like the privilege game is trying to aggregate something that's too hard to aggregate. And if the focus is more on just justice for everybody gets justice, then, if it's fairness and meritocracy, then I feel like capitalism just wipes it out. It can wipe out disparities. It can wipe out these differences by virtue of meritocracy. What I mean by that is, let's say I'm a game developer, and I've got an option between choosing a mediocre male developer and a really good female developer, right? It's against my economic interest to pick the man. I'm basically, in that scenario, I'm losing money if I pick the guy. So, if it's my business and I'm doing it, I'm going to pick the girl every time in that scenario. I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense because, you care about the end product and you want to make a good product and sell it to customers so they like it,
Well, anybody wants to make a good game, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And the key thing is that, I feel if we focus on changing our social structures to be just general meritocracies, then, that will eliminate these unique challenges.
I think that's when the problems start happening. When you start messing a little bit too much in the scales, that's when all hell breaks loose.
Well, it depends. It's like anything else. It's all about careful, thoughtful, policy that's based on the best available information. I mean,
but being careful isn't even in someone's vocabulary.
Well, it depends on the someone, I would say.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like Ricky and me are kind of dominating the conversation here. David or Tanner, do you guys want to weigh in a bit here?
I think you need to say something.
Yeah, with the whole privilege thing, what I've always hated about not only the concept but just how it's used is the fact that it feeds into one of the ugliest emotions, in my opinion, which is jealousy.
Agreed.
Yes.
Because, people, they talk about privilege, and the way they talk about it is that it's as though, they have a lot of anger behind whatever privilege they're talking about, and a lot of, like, envy as well. And I think that's what also contributes to a lot of the hateful attitudes you see from a lot of these social justice people. and the privilege doesn't even have to be real. Like, a lot of the supposed male privileges out there are actually full of shit, like the so-called wage gap
Yeah,
and such
it's been
things.
long. Yeah, I think. See, it has been long accepted to be a scam, but I haven't seen no evidence.
Well, no, there is a wage gap, but it's not what they say it is, and
Yeah,
this is part of the problem, right? So the claim is the statistic that's been thrown around quite a bit is that women on average make 77 cents on the dollar versus men. Now that's technically true, because if you just add up, and the way they did this was I believe with census data. The money all the men make, and then add up all the money all the women make, and average out and see what the per capita is on each side. And women are 70 cents on the dollar in that case. However, and this is the key thing, men work generally in more STEM-related fields that have a higher average salary. There are more men in sales. That also, all the top salary areas have more men in them. Now, the claim of the feminists is, or rather I should say, some feminists and all social justice warriors is that, society is driving women away from these jobs, when the reality is, there's much better evidence to suggest that, just on average, less women are interested in these jobs. Now, that doesn't mean that women can't do these jobs. It just
No,
means that
not absolutely.
right. It just means that in aggregate, right, on average, less women do these jobs. But again, that's kind of the general, that's the wide angle view, right? But if we resolve that, if we focus that on like an individual scenario, like my theoretical, game developer choice between the excellent female game developer and the mediocre male one, like in that scenario, who cares what the aggregate is? If I'm the owner of the game development company, I'm taking the better game developer.
The profits always win in a capitalistic society.
Right, and my perspective as a leftist is, I have no problem with capitalism. I like capitalism just fine. I just want rules on the more important stuff, like in the finance sector, for example. Like I want really strict rules there, or like when it comes to our food. Like I want really strict rules on like what exactly they can put in the meat, because I read Upton Sinclair and I know how that goes.
Indeed. Yeah.
So I mean, David, would you say that's a kind of a reasonable way I've kind of framed that?
yeah, definitely. And my biggest, how do you say, to comment on the about how sort of people are claiming that women are being driven away from the STEM fields and whatnot. I wouldn't say they're being driven away, like, oh, you're a woman, you shouldn't be working here. No, I think what's caused a lot of women to not be interested in STEM fields is just social conditioning from when when they were younger. Because as you know,
Yes, the conditioning.
from you know how parents they would always like dress the girl in pink, dress the boy in blue when they're babies. And I think it's more society and parenting that causes women to be less interested in STEM field than men in general, rather than, oh, these STEM fields are sexist and oppressive.
Okay, now listen here, Dave. If I could deviate from the subject for just a tad little bit.
Yeah.
See, I think what you just brought up, the conditioning from very very young. See, I think the condition of parenting also brings up for being this old dead horse about how gaming is violent, stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So when you got these parents and they don't even bother to check the ESRB rating when they look at these games, that's a sign of parental negligence right there. Can most of you agree with that on that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you know, the parents think all video games are, oh, they're these violent Grand Theft Auto Call of Duties, and
Oh
they don't,
yeah.
they don't realize that for every Call of Duty game out there, there's like 10 games that are rated E or rated
Yeah,
T.
yeah. Listen, it's not. Listen, all you had to do is just point your eyes at the ESRB rating and just say no and be done with it.
Yeah.
I don't understand why most parents choose not to see the ratings, buy it, and then complain on Facebook, and then complain on Facebook like they don't know a damn thing about it.
That's the parents of today. That's all I can say.
Well, that's
Yeah.
none of that's a new story. I mean, there's that Abe Simpson image. Once I used to know what it was, and now I don't. That whole deal. It's tough for parents, especially with the pace of technology. It's tough for an older generation to acclimate. Like if and when I have kids, like I don't even know what kind of tech I'm gonna have to deal with, and I'm saying that as an IT guy. You know, like the generation behind me is growing up with all this tech, and whereas when I was growing up, the internet was just kind of starting out. Like I've seen all this crazy transformation. And it's difficult because the faster technology develops, the faster it develops.
Yeah. So, see, I've only had a Twitter account since '06, and before GamerGate, I probably do about five or some a week. Well, my thoughts on games, anime, and all that junk.
I gotcha. Yeah, GamerGate's made us all kind of talk it up a bit. So at any rate, Tanner, you're with us. You've been on mute there
Yeah.
for a while. You got anything to throw in?
Yeah, I wanna talk about like the abuse GamerGate is getting. I'm gonna post a couple of tweets in the chat. I'd like you guys to see them.
Yeah, no, I saw this one actually.
No, I just posted one.
Oh, I'm gonna check it out now.
Oh no, I was looking at David's one. All right, hold on here.
Oh,
got
I know
a
this
couple.
dude.
Oh,
Well, I don't know him, but like I've seen his tweets. Like, well, I've seen his account before. He's a fucking nut job. He
I
this
mean,
was
he's
a while
full of
ago,
shit.
but I think sometime last fall he got extremely mad at Xseed over something. So what he did was he just sent them death threats through Twitter.
So wait a minute,
Yeah.
who in particular are we talking to? This at Fartlebeetle or Fartlebee guy?
No, sorry, the tweet Tanner just posted.
Yeah.
The Saturn 500 guy.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, how dare you point out you're getting what you deserve. Actually, you deserve far more, far worse.
I see it.
And then it's like saying, oh, you assumed that I meant violence, but what does that mean? You actually deserve far worse.
Oh,
He's,
so
And that's for Debbie Ever, right? Yeah.
yeah.
I actually know Debbie Ever, personally.
Really?
Yeah. So basically, he's really butthurt because Debbie Ever is a trans developer.
Yeah, I know. I've caught a number of her live stream type deals.
Yeah.
She apparently I get. Well, why don't you explain? You know her, so you can give her backstory real quick.
Yes. Oh, yeah. She's a trans developer who's been, she's been making games and stuff recently, and she was originally against GamerGate, but then she read up on the issue and everything, and then she basically switched sides, after and reconsidered. However, she's also made some enemies in the past, and basically this is one of them. And this guy is just like a gigantic SJW. Like I'm talking like like I said before, he'll send death threats to you if you disagree with him. Like he sent death threats to a freaking game company just because he didn't like what they were doing.
Jesus.
Okay,
And-
may I ask?
and-
May I ask? What was it about the game that got him so wound up? If you don't mind asking.
That's the thing. I completely forgot
Well,
what got
I
me
mean-
riled up in the first place. It was so long ago, but
Not
I
to
just
interrupt, but I mean, if it was Mass Effect 3, I kind of understand.
Oh no, I'm talking about Xseed Games. You know the
Oh
company?
yeah, I know them.
Yeah, they they publish niche titles, and basically Xseed Games are known for, well, now they're known recently for not standing up, for not taking the bullshit from social justice types. As you already know, a trans person, threatened self-harm just because one of their games had the word trap in it, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Meaning
Trap.
meaning like the literal trap, not the slang trap, right?
Oh.
The slang trap.
Oh, the slang trap.
Yeah, but it was like
Uh,
it was in the game as it was like an offhand comment, and it wasn't even like directed at anyone. It was just part
Wait a
of
minute.
this. Yeah.
Let me ask you a very important question. Was that a translated title?
Yes.
Okay, then we can totally ignore that. Basically, is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
pretty much.
Because that's a mistake. My wife is Taiwanese, and
Yeah.
she does translation work all the time. And her English is like she was born in Taiwan, so but her English is like better than mine because she's got an Ivy League education and I'm a moron. So at any rate, she ends up getting a lot of. She does some translation work on the side, and she gets a lot of stuff that's already passed through one translator, and she's shown me things. It's like the jump between Asian languages and any other language is a nightmare. So that's something like that's so innocuous,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
As somebody who's read manga for a living, I understand.
yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, like the moment you hit one of their quote unquote trigger words, all reason goes out the window and they'll try to beat you into submission to never use that word again, no matter what context it was used in.
No,
And
it's true.
so, so yeah, now I don't know what. Now he didn't send them death threats over this. He sent them death threats like last fall. So this wasn't about the trap thing. It was about something else. I completely forgot what it was. All I remember is that he sent death threats, and in the whole social circle that he's known in, he's pretty much regarded as a pariah.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
Yeah.
it takes a certain level of anger and a certain level of, I don't know, psychopathy, I suppose, to get that angry on the internet, if you know what I mean. Like, to the point of doxing and death threats, I mean, give me a break. Like, that's the line for me on freedom of speech. That's the line. Like,
Yeah,
that
death threats.
actually, go ahead.
Yeah, death threats and yelling fire in a crowded theater. I think that's my limits on free speech.
Yeah.
Probably a bit more, but yeah, I'm totally for most free speech, basically.
Most of the time you got these bot police who likes to cherry pick most words, most art, most games. When they see something they don't like, they raise a stake. When you refuse their self demands, this is when they start getting angry with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think Ricky kind of hit it right on the nose there. And actually, free speech kind of segues into something that I wanted to discuss, and that was games as art. Because I don't know about you guys, but from my perspective, games are art. It's not that they could be art. It's not that they one day might be art. I'm saying they're already art, and I'm saying as a matter of fact that they've been art the whole time. They've been art since Pong. They've been art since Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. Because art, I feel like art to me is a very, very broad term. Like, I don't make a distinction between the art of, let's say, film or television or, literary art like novels or manga, like Ricky brought up, so graphic novels also, art like a painting, art like music. I mean, to me, there's no distinction. We've already been art. Now art can be highbrow and lowbrow, and it can be good and bad. But highbrow and lowbrow is merely a subject to the social norms of the time, whenever that time have to be. And good and bad is arbitrary on the individual person. So to me, either all art is good to go or none of it is. Because the second we start, limiting art, and burning books like that one asshole did to Based Mom's book, Christina Hoff Summers' book. Then we're on just a straight march to the gulag.
When art no longer becomes art and it is perceived by someone to be something that should be eradicated, that's when it no longer becomes art to them. It is something that needs to be destroyed.
Right, and my point is merely that that is a fully subjective
What
factor.
these fools don't need to understand is that I believe the First Amendment cuts both ways. If you don't like it, there's always the option of turning the goddamn computer screen off.
Yeah, I agree. That's an important distinction. It's like nobody has art forced on them. You can choose when and where to consume your art, and furthermore, especially in gaming, I mean, the entry level cost of making a game now is nothing compared to what it used to be. I mean, you can make games for free, or games at a very, very low entry point. You can get RPG Maker right now on Steam, and that shit costs like what, $20-$30?
Guilty.
Up.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
I think there are also free game
Big
engines,
X8, baby.
if I'm not mistaken. Like, isn't Unity free, supposedly?
Yeah, there's a version. There's like the entry-level versions that you could get for free. You can go on their website right now. Now, it takes a time investment to learn how to do that stuff right, or at least at a competent enough level where you could produce anything. I mean, I certainly cannot. I'm not a coder, or by any stretch. I don't even mod very much.
Certainly, Eagle, and I have been dabbling a lot. With RPG Maker, like you said. I've been my early experiments in it are shit, and I'm just being nice about it.
Well, you gotta start somewhere, right?
I know. I'm just being nice here.
Well, that's fine. But yeah, so it's like, just like Ace said, you can get Unity is Unity is many leagues above RPG Maker. Unity is what they build AAA games in, and that you can get your feet wet in that for $0, beyond the cost of a computer, of course. But you don't even need necessarily to own the computer. I mean, there are schools and libraries and colleges and things. So I mean,
there's two other. See, in addition to RPG Maker, I have been making 3D art since about 2011. See, if you need to, I'm gonna post the link to my Tumblr page.
Oh, sounds good. What do you do 3D in? What program are you using?
Oh, I mostly do it in Dash Studio. I usually run Dash Studio off this 5-year-old E-Machines E1200, which I turned reliable.
Man, that sounds old. So, yeah.
Man, I'm sorry, but I'm currently in the process of getting a new one. Hopefully somewhere within the 6 to 8 core range, and with a better GPU.
Yeah, well,
because Old Reliable has a
you got what you got.
G force, but it's not that powerful, to say the least.
Yeah, it sounds a little dated. What can you do? Sometimes that's what you got. I'd like to kind of open it up to you guys. Like, do you have anything you want to? Is there anything anyone would like to kind of add about the general GamerGate thing? And any particularly strong feelings you have for where you think we should go, or how the current state of things as they are right this moment.
At the moment, I actually have some questions about the GamerGate movement I wanted to ask you guys. Basically, what I want to ask is, what flaws do you see in the movement at the moment? With like, is it in terms of like getting the message across, or any flaws with like the self-policing or what have you? Like, do you, anything you feel that the GamerGate movement should improve upon to get their message across better?
Well, first of all, we need to calm down on emotions and stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You're definitely right about that. I think actually, I think we have to shift from hot anger to cold anger. There's a world of difference between the two. When you're in hot anger mode, you push harder and you're sloppier. And when you're in cold anger mode, you're kind of focused, and it's just you and the problem. And when you're in cold anger mode, it's easier to step away when you need to take a breather. And the more important thing though is tone, and that relates to the hot anger versus cold anger thing. It's like tone is so important. Like, we have to come across like we're cool and collected, and we should be cool and corrected, because the reality is the sky's not falling. It's not like gamers are dead. They can put 1,000 articles into the various game journal sites saying that gamers are dead. Gamers are dead. We're not. We're here. We're not going anywhere. GamerGate or not, gamers are alive and well, and influence or not from social justice warriors, they're not going to go away, because what? Okay, let's admit, worst case scenario, what? They topple the industry? First of all, that's not going to happen. The industry is not toppling. But I'm saying even if it did, let's say
need us, but we don't need them.
Yeah, well, no. Just my point is, if the industry toppled tomorrow, there'd still be millions of gamers out there who are already coding their own stuff, because what's happened is there's been a democratization of gaming. This goes back to the Unity thing and all that. Essentially, the point of entry is the bar for entry is low, and as an end result, like, anything's possible.
Yeah, if the industry gets a takeover tomorrow, let's say, do you honestly think we give a fuck? No.
Well, no, it's more that A, it's not going to happen, and B, even if it did, it's irrelevant, because just a new industry would rise to replace it. So none of this is going to happen. So what we're really talking about, the real concern is, we don't want innovation stifled. We don't want narrative police. And the only way that we can prevent these things from happening is if we're willing to be on a constant vigil as consumers, as gamers, and as hobbyists. And that's the vigil that anyone who loves art in their particular slice of the art pie, has to hold if you love it for what it is. So that's why I would say, and the only other thing I would throw in that point is, Internet Aristocrat made a very good point when things first started to heat up. He said, don't get too organized. As a whole movement, don't be too organized, because then there's like a fixed target to attack, essentially. But and I think there's some truth to what he's saying. But at the same time, he also said that small groups should go and do their thing, and try and help however you can. And I think one of those things that might be a consideration would be forming some kind of consumer advocacy group, along the lines of a 503c, political action committee type thing, and if something like that were to come about, I'd probably throw a little money that way. I'd make a little donation. And as far as like grand strategy, I think that's really all there is to this, quite honestly. And we just and the key from a day-to-day standpoint is actually the Twitter hashtag, because as long as that sucker keeps afloat, it's a constant reminder that we're still here and we're still pissed off, and we're not going to stand for it. So like as long as the ball is constant, like every day putting up 40,000 tweets, I mean, we're getting into people's Twitter analytics. We're starting to, and as long as we don't even have to go, much higher than that every day. Like if we can maintain a nice steady burn, like then we're just still there. And as long as we're still there, all the other, it's like it acts as kind of like a hub in the spokes. With the spokes being like the various boards that are uncompromised and the escapist, we kind of tie it all together, because as long as that hashtag keeps fucking trending, our voices cannot be fully ignored, and eventually somebody's going to have to deal with us.
Yeah.
I also have a feeling a big voice is going to emerge, like if the trend continues into, like, let's say October or even November, then at some point the big media, the mainstream media, has to pick it up. And I think that could be GamerGate's best outcome, because the mainstream media, from what I've seen, doesn't really have a stake in all this. This is all, like, all this stuff going on right now is not really mainstream material, so to speak. Like, a lot of the people involved are in, like, niche sites.
Yeah, I agree. Although Escapist is not small. Breitbart, while it is sort of a tabloid basically, and it's a right-wing one at that, I mean, this is not a site I would have frequented before this.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
we do owe Milo big on this, because if he didn't drop,
Listen, we own big time.
that would have been the ball game. This would have all just died. But those
Yeah.
emails stoked the fire at the right time, and as an end result, everybody's still here, and that's good news.
Everybody's still happy and everybody's still angry. That's because of him.
He played a big role. I mean, him and Baldwin, and Internet Aristocrat is actually, him and a number of other players have kind of been beating the drum on this kind of stuff for a while now. In particular, Internet Aristocrat, but he's not alone. I mean, Triox V has an excellent video on that, and there's a couple other critiques out there of that have really kind of hit it right on the nose, like so it's going to be a long haul, though, I think, and even big name or no, I think we're in this for a long time, guys.
Oh, indeed.
Although I doubt it'll be as doxy. It'll simmer into like more of a Cold War thing, I imagine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
listen, guys. Unless you fellas have anything more to add, I'm thinking of shutting this thing down for the night. Do you guys have any closing comments or things you want to get off your chest? Yeah, let's let Tanner talk. He hasn't had much opportunity here.
Okay.
I want to talk about this one guy, K. Thor Jensen guy. When he first came out about the hashtag GamerGate, he was anti. It was not for it. But then I started talking to him. He's talking about ethics and that, and he found out that he was going against what he was saying. He had double standards, and I would like you to see it. I just put the tweet in
Yeah,
the
I'm
group
looking at
chat.
it.
Okay, now where the hell does this guy get off?
Oh yeah, I've seen this guy's tweets. Yeah.
Where the hell does this guy get off?
Hashtag activism is an ineffective way. Oh,
Oh, give me a fucking break.
not even that. It's that the people that he's agreeing with have used hashtag activism for different things too. Like, I remember, I don't know if you remember this, what was it called?
See, how about save our girls for one of the...
Yeah. And then there was one for video game women too. I forget the name of it though. Was it,
Not your shield stuff?
no, it was... Hold on, let me look it up now. One reason why. I don't know if you remember that hashtag. Basically,
Not
Oh, great
exactly.
woman in video game.
Oh, so what he I follow. He just right. He was the pot calling the kettle black.
yeah, because he's saying this, yet the same people that agree with him were using the one reason why hashtag to explain how women were being marginalized in the gaming industry, which is, of course, the best way to sort of dismiss that hashtag is basically it's all anecdotal evidence, and it wasn't even all that, like, you compare the GamerGate trend to the one reason why trend, and GamerGate easily blows it out the water. If I could find the analytics on that, but yeah, it's so funny, like, and I bet you he would use the fact that one reason why failed as a reason why hashtag activism failed, like as though as a failure, as though that's proof enough.
Well,
Here,
that stuff. Hashtag activism by itself is ineffective by
Yeah.
itself. That's why I said it's a kind of the hub and the spokes.
Yeah.
Like when you got other stuff going around it, and it's just stoking the fire while it rises, then then it's part of an important like ecosystem that generates results. But yeah, that was a good job by you, Tan. You showed that guy pretty good.
well, here's another part that got me like in it. I just put like another link. Like this is what started it. When I saw this, I knew I had to say something about it.
I will say this about the hashtag activism. It's a good tool, but it's a tool that you need to build around, not use by itself.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
Should and will be executed. I mean,
Because
is this guy fucking insane or what?
I had to say something. Like after he said that, it's like this guy is on something. Like I'm sorry.
Well, listen, I got coffee that's smarter than him.
It takes all kinds. Everyone wants to be right, and everyone wants to be, everyone wants the moral super high ground, because then you can just scapegoat the peons below you, because you're so enlightened. But that's the story. Ricky, you have any last thoughts?
Oh,
Final
yes.
thoughts?
Yes. See, oh yes. See, when I started doing my games, my real shitty games, and I started enjoying them, and I started doing around with my free art. I know that I enjoyed it. See, the point I wanted to get across here, real quick. See, my late grandmother told me not to take any kind of crap from anyone. So, anybody who tells me that I need to tone down the sexiness of the women that I'm portraying, or this part is too violent for them, I say fuck off. I'm well protected by my right. I'm well protected by my First Amendment rights to do whatever the hell I want. And if you don't like it, well, there's the don't like it. Well, there's the X button. Go ahead and click it, and I ain't gonna say nothing more to you.
All right.
There we go.
All right.
Ace, any finals? Or did I already cover you?
I guess I'll say one more thing. I don't know if I did, but I'll say this. This still isn't over. There is a lot.
Oh, hell no, it ain't over.
Yeah, there is still a lot. Like, basically, what I would like to see out of all this is, obviously, all these corrupt journalists, they're not gonna go anywhere, because as much as
As much as we'd like to see them fired, at least an apology would be good enough for me. An apology would be good enough for me.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere, because either they'll eventually apologize, or they'll simply be ignored but still have their audience. 'Cause these people still have an audience that believe they're bullshit, so
Yeah,
they're still going to be relevant in some way. But what I do think will happen, and what I do hope to see, is the sort of a counterculture to all this. And we're already seeing it with, like, startup websites like the Niche Gamer, Games Nosh. Yeah, like all these startup websites that have, that have portrayed GamerGate in a more balanced light. I mean, some of them have been more positive than others, but at the very least, they've been countering all the bullshit being thrown at GamerGate. And I see those sites being rewarded.
I just posted one of my experiences into one of my earlier experiences into gaming writing. I've abandoned it now. But there's some videos and some stuff that I did, and some stuff about anime discussion and all that. This was kind of my experience into gaming writing.
Yeah. And I think
sorry if I'm derailing you.
Oh no, it's fine. And these sites, I think they're going to be handsomely rewarded with for their commitment to objectivity.
Whether it be viewership or ad revenue, we love them.
Exactly. A ton of people have already admitted, either on Twitter, on 4chan, or on the websites themselves, that they've disabled ad block specifically so they could see these sites succeed, because they'd rather see new startup sites than the same shit that's always been peddled to them from the likes of Kotaku and Polygon and all these other sites.
Yes, indeed.
So I definitely see more new game websites coming up, and I also see YouTube being used more as a source for either video game news or video game analysis, because that's been getting much more popular recently with the Let's Players and guys like Total Biscuit. And people have been saying, whispering sort of, that YouTubers are slowly taking over these game journalist sites, and I think GamerGate is now expediting that process, because everyone's seeing how fucking obsolete these games journalist sites really are. Like, this is the biggest mistake these anti-GamerGate people are making. Well, the game journalists and these indie devs that are basically in bed with them. They're not necessary at all.
They are slowly drifting into the long road of irrelevance.
Exactly. They are not necessary at all. Like, there are a ton of gamers out there that
they need us, but we don't fucking need them.
Exactly. There are actually a ton of gamers out there who probably only read like IGN for news, and then they just play video games and that's it. Like, I mean, some would call them casual gamers or whatnot, but there's still a ton of gamers that are like that, and they're perfectly fine that way. So to me, that shows that these journalists that are continuing to preach from their high horse, their ivory towers, that they're not necessary. And if they're gonna treat their dedicated audience this way, then they can be
And
easily
most
replaced.
of them, they can say, well, if they're going to treat the audience that way, we could just tell them to go fuck themselves.
Exactly. Yep. That's the
Enjoy
biggest
your
mistake they're
long
making.
ride. Enjoy your long ride to obscurity, because enjoy your long ride to obscurity, you SOBs, because you damn well deserved it.
Yep.
Enjoy your.
So that's pretty much all I have to say on that. I definitely see more smaller sites and YouTube in general becoming more popular as a result of this.
Again, Asung, I'm sorry for derailing you. I'm just a little. I am talking a lot more than I should have been tonight.
Oh no, it's fine. It's cool, man.
Okay, I think we need to close this thing out before we all start getting sore throats.
Yeah, sorry, fellas, I got distracted there for a minute. But yeah, at any rate, thank you all for coming on, and good luck out there, guys. Good luck in the trenches.
Sure,
Yeah.
sayonara.
Yep, definitely. Later.